What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV back here for another preview stream as we look forward to the game. 5:30 kickoff at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium tomorrow against Everton, which promises to be a big game. Spurs' home form obviously very good, so looking to kick on and keep that going. Everton have turned over a bit of a new leaf this season. You know, they were both of our tips to go down. I don't think, definitely not my tip to go down anymore. Are they you?
No, not at the moment. I made that tip before the window ended, so they hadn't signed a striker, and there was a lot of upheaval, and we weren't really sure what's going on. Since then, they did have a pretty good end to the window, so it doesn't look like they're going to go down, but I wouldn't get too comfortable just yet if I was an Everton fan.
Well, talking of Everton fans, just before we get into the preview and get you guys on to have your say, we've got Connor from the Toffee Blues. So let's bring him on and let's see what he has to say on the matter. Connor, how are you, my friend?
I'm good, thank you. I'm really good. Thanks for having me on, lads.
No, it's good to have you on. If you want to check out our preview on their channel, do go over and head over to Toffee Blues on YouTube, where you'll see me and Connor previewing the game from an Everton perspective. But now let's get it from a Tottenham perspective. But before we get into it, let's talk about your views on Tottenham and how do you think Spurs are going so far this season and so far under Antonio Conte?
Yeah, I think you're doing really well. I thought you'd... I'm not going to lie, I thought you'd I had you down to finish best of the rest, so third before the season started, just because of the transfers you'd made. Didn't foresee Liverpool having such a bad start, so I thought it'd be City, Liverpool, and then you being best of the others.
Didn't even crack a smile when you said that Liverpool having such a bad start.
I've enjoyed laughing all week. I've had to watch the Rangers game though the other day, so that took a smile away a bit. But no, I thought you'd do well. I didn't see Arsenal either doing as well as they have been, which obviously won't bring a smile to either of your faces. But I didn't have them having such a good start. I still stick by it though. I still think you'll finish. I still think you'll finish third. I think Arsenal will fall to falter and end up fourth, possibly fifth, depending on if Chelsea pull their act together and how well Potter manages to settle in there. But I still think you've just got that. I think it comes down to the experience of a manager. I like Arteta because he's a former Everton player, but I think Conte is just an experienced head, and that's what you need when you're battling, for Champions League.
Yeah, and since Lampard's come to Everton, obviously there's been many downs and many ups. Obviously, he kept you safe last season from relegation. This season, going into the season, you did lose the opening two games, but you did go on a bit of a run recently, a bit of an unbeaten run up until the recent loss against Man United. Tell me about how different maybe Everton are in the last few games as opposed to maybe at the end of last season and the beginning of this season.
We're a lot more secure. To be fair, the start of the season and the 1-0 to Chelsea, really tough. It was a silly penalty by Decore, I think it was, going into the back of the player. Then Villa was a bit disappointing when you look at them. That one really was. And then we had a string of draws. Now we're picking up wins, which we needed. Draw against Liverpool, which is really, really good for us. We just look a lot more solid, which is, these draws, they're only one goal scored against us. It's 2 against United, which was was the most we'd scored previously, and we had a really good defence. We're just really solid now. We've got Cody and Tarkowski as the 2 centre-backs, both experienced heads. I can't believe Wolves, bearing in mind the trouble they seem to be in, gave Connor Cody to us on loan. He's starting to prove his worth, and I've seen that the buy-in clause for him on his loan is very cheap as well, which makes it look even worse. And then we obviously got Idrissa Gueye in the midfield that we knew already. He comes back and can just control the midfield from a defensive point of view. And then we packed it out. We've got James Garner, who we've not really seen much of yet, but again, another midfielder, Onana, who looks to be a really good player for the future, really a big man mountain in the midfield. So we sort of noticed the problems last year with defence. We've gone and sorted that now. The only worry then is obviously we're a bit defence heavy now, and the one thing we've not got in abundance at the minute is goals or goal scoring. Obviously Calvert-Lewin coming back might help that a little bit, because Neil Moipai, I think, is more of a moment striker than getting loads of goals. I think he just produces moments.
When you're looking at Frank Lampard, Connor, on the back end of last season, it seemed as though like already his days at Everton might be numbered, and you just about escaped relegation, and Richarlison was a very key figure to that. But seeing as you have had a good window, you've had a positive start to the season, as opposed to what you were going at the back end of last season, has the opinions on Frank Lampard changed at all?
Yeah, I mean, personally, I've always been on the fence, but Everton fans, as a general, loved him, so I wouldn't be the greatest soundbite for the fan base. There was writing, I mean, the options when we had him were quite low. It was a fella, Pereira, who went on Sky to do his interview, basically, going saying that he'd got the job. Wayne Rooney, who was a novice of management, and then Frank Lampard, who's still a novice, but he's got a little bit more experience than Wayne Rooney has. So the option, obviously, the fans clamoured for Lampard because he was the best of a bad bunch. Fans really like him. They think he unified the fan base, which I agree with. I think he did unify a very bad placed fan base after Benitez and the damage that did. And obviously the jubilations last year, staying up, there's a good spirit around it. That's one thing he has done. Tactically, I still think he's a bit here or there. We're playing a 4-3-3 now, which every fan loves. But he hasn't given up on this 3/5 at the back. When we played, it's definitely a 5, and we look really poor in it. It's what he's preferred in his managerial career. I think he will come back to it once we've got Godfrey fit again. I hope he doesn't know, because a lot of fans like the 4-3-3. But he's a young manager. The job wasn't easy for him last year. I don't think many people would have wanted the job last year, which is why the options were so thin. It looked like a doomed chalice. But he has done the best he can with it. He's managed to get the fans whipped up into a frenzy behind him, the scenes outside, and the fans did that themselves as well. Credit to the fans. The scenes last year, meeting the coaches and stuff, was all through fans and fan pages. So I think he's brought a unity to the fan base, which was needed.
Tell me about Alex Iwobi, because he seems to be a man reborn this season, and I saw his goal against Man United. That was pretty much capped off his brilliant start to the season, and maybe in a new position. Tell me what he's doing differently this season to maybe what he's been doing over the last few years.
Yeah, I mean, if you told me 3 years ago, 2 years ago, we'd be talking about Alex Iwobi as one of our better players, we'd have laughed you out the door. We thought we'd been, absolutely stolen from Arsenal, the wool over our eyes. And a lot of fans were like, get rid. He's just not proven himself. He's had 3 managers. He's not proven himself. But he seems to have been under a revolution at the minute. And I think it's because he's playing centrally as the third centre mid, the ones that have a little bit more freedom in a 4-3-3. Normally we stuck him out on the wing, or we've even played him right wing back before now. And Frank Lampard said the other day he felt like that was sort of tightening what Iwobi was capable of. And Iwobi himself has come out and said he can play centrally, and that's his best position, albeit he was talking about the number 10 role, but he seems a lot better as the free moving midfielder in a 3. And he just, I think, confidence as well. I think that's something that he lacked when he first came. He had that big price tag. Everybody, even us as fans, were saying we've overpaid. It's never good when you hear a club's overpaid, but even by their own fans. Struggled. Manager switching never helps to help a player settle in when you've got a different manager every 18 months. But now he's got a manager who I think believes in him, plays him in a position where he's thinking he's getting the best. And I think you can see that now in the way he plays. He's a lot more confident now than he was a year ago, 2 years ago.
Some other business that you did in the summer was selling Richarlison to us for a hefty fee of £60 million. First of all, what did you think of about that fee? Because there was a lot of made about it by the Spurs fan base. Some were saying that we overpaid. Some were just happy to get in another attacking option. How much of a miss has he been for you guys this season?
Firstly, on the fee, we paid 50 million for him from Watford, so we've only made 10 million profit. So that, as a fan base, we were a bit gutted, because you'd like to pay more for a player that you've paid that much in. But the club were in a financial situation where financial fair play was breathing down our neck, and we needed the money. It was gutting. In the modern day, I've heard loads of people saying, don't get too attached to footballers in the modern day with football. And I don't think I've liked the player since probably Tim Cahill when I was growing up as much as Richarlison. So to see him go, because the club needed to make some money off him quickly, It was really gutting to see, but I also saw he did an interview where he said he loved it at Everton, but he needed to make that next step. And he said Everton aren't, I think he used the word ambitious, but I think what he meant was we're not ready to jump where he wants to be, which is Champions League football. And it's a fair point, and I don't think we will be ready easily for the next couple of years either. So there's no surprise that he wanted to leave. I think he was one of those players that always has big aspirations, wants to be in the Brazil squad. He loves his country playing for it. He wants to make sure he's there. And with that Brazil squad, the talent they've got, he's got to be performing at the highest level in the highest stage to get in before the likes of Neymar. So he really does need to push himself, and doing it on the highest stage is where it's best. There's no hard feeling, though. I think a lot of fans wish him well as you can do when you go to a fellow Premier League club. Obviously, we don't want him scoring against us at the weekend, but we hope he does well. He really did try. He's one of the only Everton players to be able to hold his head up high after last season. And like you've alluded to, he basically, because of Calvert-Lewin's injuries, he dragged us to safety for a lot of games.
With Everton obviously just escaping relegation last season, but with the size of the club, always the aspiration is always going to be in back in Europe and in those European spots, especially. You were so consistently in those spots under David Moyes all those years ago. What does a good season look like for Everton, do you think, this season?
I said before the start of the season, obviously before being realistic on what a fan would want, because I'm not going to say, if we escape relegation, because that seems to be quite dull. I said 10th, 12th wouldn't be bad. Now that I've seen the way we kick on, I still think that. I think 10th or 12th would be a good season from the sort of signings we've made, the foundations we've built. It's another season Frank Lampard learns on the job, gets his feet steady. We'll make more signings in January and in the summer, and then we can look to move up again. Unfortunately, it's going to be a bit of a rebuild. I don't think any of our fans are under the illusion that we'll be in the 7th or 8th spots. I think we're just going to have to sadly build from the bottom again a little bit. But as long as we stick with the plan we've got now of buying a mix of experienced players as well as young players, keep a manager, that's the most important one. We can't keep switching and swapping. The future looks a bit brighter, but I think this year, 10th or 12th.
Moving on to the game, how do you expect Everton to set up? Because, I saw you looking very solid in a 5 at the back system. More recently, you've been playing the 4-3-3 system like you've alluded to. Against this Spurs side, who most likely will set up 3-4-3, how are you looking to set up the game this weekend for Everton?
I think we'll stay with the 4-3-3 just because Ben Godfrey's injured. And he was the one that was playing as the faster centre-back. Yerry Mina picked up another injury, unfortunately. We do have Michael Keane, but I don't think a free back with Tarkowski, Cody and Michael Keane would be able to handle the pace of your forwards, especially Son and Richarlison or Kulusevski, whoever plays. So I think we'll stay with the 4-3-3. I think the back line will be Mikalenko, Tarkowski, Cody, Coleman, just because Nathan Patterson's injured and won't be back now till after the World Cup, which is a shame. I think we'll stick with the same midfield again, Onana, Idrissa Gueye, and Iwobi. And then up front is the one where it's difficult because Gordon's suspended. I think we'll see Moipai again. I don't think he'll bring Calvert-Lewin in just because he's had reoccurring injuries and we don't want that again. And then I think we'll play Gray, and I think we see Dwight McNeil come back into the side.
Fair enough. And if that's the way you set up, what is your score prediction for Saturday?
I think it's going to be really tough. The optimist in me, because you don't like to bet against your club, says something like 1-1. 1-1 is probably the most optimistic without me being biased. But I think we might end up losing this one 2-0. I only say 1-1 because I'm sure that Richarlison gets a goal in this game at some point if he plays. I think it's written in the stars. I said it in our preview to Ben. It's just something that if I was a betting man, I'd stick a fiver on it.
Fair enough.
All right, well, Connor, thanks for coming on today. Like I said before, check out our preview on the Toffee Blues channel. Link will be in the description below. But Connor, thank you so much for coming on. And I would say good luck for the rest of the season, but apart from this weekend.
Thank you for having me on.
Nice
Cheers,
one.
mate.
Nice. Thanks for your time, Connor.
So that was Connor from the Toffee Blues. Some great insight from an Evertonian over there.